with a speech impediment unless we continue her speech therapy.
Ms.
Isn't that right, Mrs. Nice?
Right.
So,
Ms. Nice, do you think that
Ms. Rose,
do you think that she should have
Ms.
speech
Rose,
therapy?
At this point, let's let Ms. Kidd address the fact, with a 70% improvement, does she have a speech impediment at this point?
At 70%, she does not have a speech impediment, and we're stating clearly with the reevaluation that no,
Well, that's
she
not what the
does
Department
not.
of Children and Families evaluation.
Right. I mean,
Well,
I don't
I
understand
you
why
know,
the
this-
DCF evaluation is
time,
getting
please.
thrown off the table. Why is it? Why are you discounting the DCF evaluation? I don't understand why
as I
that's
stated
being.
before, that I have worked with Amber. She has met the milestones we've set for her, and you know, at this point, my evaluation speaks for itself.
And Ms. Rose, I would like to point out that reasonable persons can disagree, and
Yeah.
Ms. Kidd has reviewed that new evaluation, and she just doesn't agree with it. So,
The operative word is limitations, and our budget is extremely limited. It's stretched thin as it is, and it can't be stretched anymore. When you start, now this is about Amber, but it's also about many Ambers, okay? And when you start stretching it, all the other kids are affected, all the other kids. And so we have to draw the line after a while. There's only just so much we can do with
However,
the resources we've got.
I've been to school for a long time. I've seen, we've had ups and downs. We've had high times, we've had low times, more money and less money, more PTO involvement, less PTO involvement, and we get through. And we provide services to all our children. And we can do it for those children as well, including Amber.
Right, and I mean, as much as I really do sympathize. I mean, I understand that you have your eye on a much bigger ball, that you've got to consider a whole host of factors, and then throwing in a couple of hurricanes doesn't help matters. And so I do understand that you're in a tight spot. However, we're not at a finance meeting. We're here just at a meeting to establish the special needs of Amber and seeing what the school needs to do to provide for those special needs.
I'm
I
sorry.
think I can understand your position, but as I say, I think Amber has met the goal that has been set out for her, and this is where we stand.
And if Ms. Kidd's speech evaluation had said this child needed more speech therapy, this meeting would be over in 5 minutes, and we'd have an IEP that we'd all agree on. But at this point, we have a valid evaluation that says she does not need the therapy. And Mr. Beard, I believe you would back me in saying that we are within the law to say this is the IEP that is going to come out of this meeting today, and I've been preparing it here. So at this point, if you would all sign.
Well, I wonder if our budget was greater, would Amber still need services?
My evaluation is based on the test that I gave Amber.
Nothing to do with finances.
My evaluation was
Nothing to
based
do
on the
with the
test
hurricane.
that I gave Amber, and I stand by my evaluation.
Ms.
I
Everett.
believe if it were based on other matters, that she would go ahead and tell us about it right now.
I am a
But,
speech therapist. I work with children. That's my job, and that's what I've done.
And I do appreciate all of your interaction in this meeting, and I'll go ahead and send around this IEP at this time. If you'll all sign it at this point.
I'm going to sign it, but I'm going to say that I don't agree.
I don't agree as well. I'm going to sign as well.
I understand. Thank you very much for coming.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to mediation. You know, I'm so glad to see everyone here today. Everyone's smiling and everything, so I hope today we're going to reach an amicable solution. My name is Jan Tucker Petway, and I will be your mediator today. As Miss Rose and Miss Smith, I've met them prior to Miss Crockett and Mr. Beard getting here. I understand this is their first mediation. Okay, so welcome. I'm going to pass around a form I want everyone to sign in on. Okay, and I just kind of want everyone to just, introduce themselves and just kind of each give me their position on why we're here today.
I'm Miss Smith. I'm a advocate, also co-advocate.
I'm Miss Rose. Hi. I'm with the Guardian Ad Litem program, and I've been Amber's guardian for about 3 years.
I'm Sonia Crockett. I'm principal at Pensacola Middle School, where Amber attends.
And I'm Mr. Beard. I'm the school administrator, and it's nice to meet y'all.
All right, since this is Mrs. Smith and Ms. Rose's first mediation, I need to do a little housekeeping. We try to all behave in a professional manner. Each person has an opportunity to state their position. Also, too, we have what we call a caucus. That's when one of the parties want to meet privately with me to discuss an issue, and I would turn around and bring that back to the table and discuss it with the other parties. So we're all here to reach a resolution. Okay? We're going to start, and I'm going to give Ms. Crockett the chance. And I'm sorry, Ms. Crockett, but the administrator said that he was going to be the one who was going to speak for your school. So I will let Mr. Beard speak at this time to put your position on the record as to why we're here.
I believe, and thank you, I believe that the position of the school is very clear. We have gotten to the point where our resources are just stretched to the breaking point, and we have many more things in the fire. We've got I know this is strictly about Amber, but at the same time it also deals with money. Now, legally, we have done everything we are supposed to do. Amber has received every entitlement that was available for her, and we have met our legal obligations. We've also met what I would consider our moral obligations. But at the same time, we also have to consider that we have only limited resources. And that's the main position of the school, is that our resources are just stretched too thin right now.
Ms. Rose?
I've actually passed around a mediation memo stating in bullet point form our position, but I would at this time like to request a private caucus.
Okay. No problem.
And I believe this memo is much like the one you passed out at the IEP.
Like right, it has the same points.
All right, thank you.
I will be right back.
Thanks for meeting with us. I just felt that that other forum was not going to be conducive to really reaching an agreement because we did already reach that impasse, and the way that the last meeting happened, I felt like a private caucus was really better for us. I just wanted to point out a couple things to you. I think you already received all the information. The first that I wanted to really show you was that reevaluation done by DCF that does say that she should continue with speech therapy. Let me see. Here it is. That although she is at 70%, that still a third of the time she's not understandable at all. I mean, 70%, yeah, okay, you can kind of sort of understand her, but 30% is totally unintelligible. And that's just not, I mean, can you imagine that a third of the time that you're trying to interact with your peers or get a boyfriend or whatever you're trying to do at 13 years old, people can't even understand you? And I guess that...
And I noticed as well on the Nelson speech test that she's still 2 standard deviations away from the mean.
Right.
So...
Yeah. And then second, I did want to point out the letter from the psychotherapist.
Okay.
That talks that even though she has made improvements, it's still a noticeable speech impediment. And if you talk to Amber for 5 minutes, you would notice it. This isn't like you could sit down with a girl for an hour and talk to her and, oh yeah, she maybe has, I mean, it's a noticeable speech impediment. And that as a result, it affects her self-esteem, her self-confidence, her ability to socialize and make friends. She withdraws from other kids. She gets teased. I mean, you know how 13-year-olds can be.
Exactly.
You know? And
it's very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
And given that she's living in a group home with no parental involvement, I would think that makes it very difficult for Amber.
Yeah, and as much as, I mean, I know that the school therapist, meant well, but Miss Kidd thought that Amber could just work with her speech therapy at home with her parents. And she doesn't understand that Amber is in a group foster home and doesn't have those kind of primary caregivers, that kind of individualized attention from parents, you know. And I felt like they just didn't really understand that she has a learning disability. Right. She's an ESC student anyway, and she's in a foster group home. You know, to pull her out of speech therapy while she is making these kind of gains, I mean, I really feel it's just, you know.
And also, her teachers support our position. Miss Upright, her special education teacher, and Miss Nice, her regular teacher, support our position that she's in need of more speech therapy services.
Right.
And those are people that are with her on a daily basis.
So it is your position as her advocate that she is in need of continuing her services in speech therapy.
Right, that 2 hours. And I mean, I do, not that I want to question, you know, the school's integrity or anything like that, but I do feel like they're just saying no because of the money. And that's just not acceptable. And I know that with the hurricane victims, they're in a really tough spot, but that's not, you know, the issue. The issue is what are Amber's special needs, and her special need is that she needs speech therapy, and that's the bottom line.
Okay. And so you're saying you want those 2 hours per week? Ms. Crockett and Mr. Beard, I have spoken privately with the advocate and the co-advocate, and I think, you know, maybe you and I need to have a private caucus.
Yes, we would appreciate that opportunity. Thank you.
All right, I've had an opportunity to meet with Ms. Smith and Ms. Rose, but I wanted to get your position out, and we needed to kind of talk about what it is that we're really looking to do here, how we're going to go about resolving this issue. So, Mr. Beard and Mrs. Crockett?
Ms. Tucker-Petway, I do want to emphasize with you that even though we do have to talk about resources because we live, you know, that's reality, our most important point in this process is Amber. We are concerned about Amber as we are concerned about all of our children in the school. But when we look at Amber's case, just her case alone, she has made significant progress in her speech therapy. She went from 20% up to 70%. She's understandable 70% of the time. Now, in a perfect world, she would be understandable 100% of the time. But she has been receiving services for 5 years, the speech therapy services, and she's receiving other services in our school. She's receiving the specific learning disability services. So it's not like we're cutting her off entirely. So we have an evaluation from a professional. Yes, it's an in-house school speech therapist, but that's the way these things are done. We have the in-house therapist, and we follow what our therapist does, what our therapist recommends. And the federal law doesn't require that we, maximize a child's potential. And I was thinking last night that perhaps Amber has reached her maximum potential. I mean, 70% is pretty darn good. And if you look at where Amber has come from, we just believe that we are within our legal rights to say at this time we are not offering the speech therapy any longer.
Well, Ms. Crockett, have you read the letter from the psychotherapist as well as the evaluation that was conducted by the Department of